Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of Access Granted. I'm sorry for a little bit of the delay. I had to do some because I had some technical difficulties. So sorry about the almost 2 minute delay. But I am currently driving to Brian Kelly's press conference, where he's going to recap, all the stuff that happened in the Ole Miss game. Of course, he had the post game presser, but he also does, of course, his weekly. Press conference where he talks a little bit what happened in the previous game, and then also he will talk about the upcoming game. That upcoming game is Arkansas. That is a game that LSU has been a lot of tight battles in. The last 4 matchups have actually been determined by 3 points each, exactly. And so that's gonna be a pretty tight game you're gonna have up there in Fayetteville. That's a tough place to play. And you also just saw a team like Tennessee go to Fayetteville and lose. So it's very possible LSU could easily lose this game after having a great victory over a team like Ole Miss, and it's very possible that you can have a common handover. So big week for LSU coming up. Next week, of course, you got to travel to Texas A&M, and that's another really tough place to play. Kyle Field is one of the loudest stadiums in the United States of America. And then you have the bye week, and then you got Bama. So pretty important slate for LSU coming up. But to recap kind of what happened in the last game, I think the cat's out of the bag, obviously. LSU defeated Ole Miss 29-26 in overtime. But before I go into the game, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the Rigorous Sports Media channel, and also make sure to share the channel out to as many people as possible. Share this video out to as many people as possible to help our brand grow. But then also, if you're watching on Twitter, make sure to follow my personal account at @Grant, as well as to follow Rigorous Sports Media for more podcasts like this. We'll always update, to let you know when the new podcast is coming out, and I have a lot of fun doing this stuff. And these live streams are very fun. If you want to leave a comment, please do. If you have a question, please do. I'll gladly answer them. Yes, I'm driving. I know that's kind of a little bit dangerous, but I'll be looking at the road the whole entire time. So guys, don't worry. This is probably the only time I'm doing this, but because I didn't do anything over the weekend, because I had some Wi-Fi issues. That's why I'm doing it now. Just kind of knocking it out. It's already uploaded and everything. I can share it out on social media. But man, that game was rough at first for LSU. Defensively, they were awesome. I know they had that big touchdown run in the second quarter, the 50-yard run by Ulysses Bentley. But overall, the defense was awesome, in my opinion. Obviously it wasn't like, they shut them down or anything like that. I mean, they almost saw some big plays. But that was a great defensive performance. Matter of fact, that was probably the best performance I've seen this team. I mean, to be honest with you, probably since 2019. This defense, the last few years has been absolutely disappointing. Matter of fact, last year against the same Ole Miss team, who, by the way, this Ole Miss team is actually better than last year's Ole Miss team. And last year, LSU allowed 706 total yards and 55 points to this Ole Miss team. That was a historically bad LSU performance by the defense. I mean, it broke a school record for most yards allowed by an LSU defense. So to go out there and only allow about, I think it was like around 484 yards. And to one of the top offenses in the country, and not only that, hold them to 2 touchdowns all game. I mean, that's pretty incredible. I mean, also that goal line stop, at the beginning of the, I think it was in the first half. It was the first half. That was huge. I mean, there was a lot. They had 6 sacks, a forced fumble, an interception. I mean, they were awesome. Whit Weeks had 18 tackles, y'all. 18 tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble. He was awesome. Alexander and Ashton Stans were locked down for the most part all game. Ashton Stans had an interception and 4 outstanding open field tackles. Ashton Stamps, I believe, had like 3 or 4 pass breakups. So that's a huge performance by him. I mean, Major Burns had a great game. That's where he should be. I know Brian Kelly alluded to moving him back to the deep safety slot, but he needs to be at star. He's an excellent open field tackler. I know he has some mistakes every once in a while, but he's looked good at the start. He looked great. I mean, he had like 6 or 7. I mean, he was great. That defense was awesome. Defense was phenomenal. And I know 3% of his passes. And then he also threw 2 really bad interceptions. Now, the first one was a tip ball at the line, and he got intercepted. But then the second one, which was, by the way, literally the play after Alexander's interception, it was a bad throw. It was a bad decision. He threw it too tight coverage. And to an area where you can throw the ball and connect with the receiver. And matter of fact, he actually threw it right to the defender. But besides that, the offense kept fighting. They kept fighting. And they had the game-tying touchdown drive to the end regulation. And by the way, Garrett Nussbaum was 4 for 11 that game when he dropped. By the way, I mean, he did not look great. I mean, he really did. But he made the throws he needed to make, and he won us the game. He got in overtime. I mean, they did. No, a lot of credit has to go to the crowd in that overtime period. The crowd was phenomenal. The crowd, I don't know, I can't recall how many times there was a false start committed by Ole Miss during that game. I mean, it was a good bit. I mean, there's probably a few, probably the exact number of it, but the crowd made a huge difference in that game. Alabama was loud, but Ole Miss all throughout the game was loud. I think even louder than Alabama at times. Of course, Alabama had 2 different earthquakes be recorded during the game, but I think Ole Miss overall was just louder than that game. The Ole Miss game this year was over. And on the overtime, I was actually able to go on the field. I actually posted it on Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter, please do. I'll always give updates to not only just LSU sports, but also high school sports as well, with my affiliations with Crescent Sports. And then also, recruiting news as well, because I am a contributing writer for TigerBait.com. But I was on Twitter, and on my Twitter, I posted a video of me recording the game-winning touchdown, which I'll get to in a second. But for the overtime period, as they get on the field, and I've been a student at LSU. I've attended as a fan. I've been in the press box, of course, the last 2 years. I've been in the press box, and it's been loud. Of course, I just mentioned the Alabama game that recorded 2 different earthquakes. Sorry. One of them was the Mason Taylor touchdown to take the lead initially before Alabama tied the lead with a game-time field point conversion, of course. That was also thrown to Mason Taylor from Jane Daniels. But I was able to go on the field for the game. And let me tell you something. Being on the field is completely different than being in the stands and being in the press box. Of course, the press box, because you're higher up, you hear it, but you're higher up, you're kind of higher than everybody else, so you really don't. You hear it, but you don't feel it. When you're in the stands, you can definitely hear it, but you can feel it. But that's because of the anxiousness and everything when you're a fan. On the field, my God, like my heart was pounding. You felt the vibrations of the owner of TigerBait.com, and what I experienced is something I haven't experienced a whole lot. And if I was feeling that tingling sensation on the field, imagine if you're an opposing player. Imagine if you're a player from Ole Miss squad. Um, it was. I mean, it was incredible. And I can confirm to tell you, and all of us know it, including myself, that Tiger Stadium is a top 10, top 5 venue to go watch a sporting event. If it is not the best, I truly believe that. Like I think it's the best sporting venue. I may be a little bit biased, but I definitely tell you it is a top 5, top 10 sporting venue, not only in the great country we call the United States of America, but in the world. I truly believe that. There's a lot of different sporting events I want to attend to across the world. That's on my bucket list. One of them being a Liverpool FC match. I'm a big Liverpool fan. They're one of the top teams in the Premier League. For any of you guys who don't watch soccer or football, as they call it, in the rest of the world, it has an iconic atmosphere that can't be matched by a lot of different clubs, not only in England, but around the continent of Europe. But LSU, but Tiger Stadium, I mean, that was a phenomenal experience I had being on the field during that time. Of course, they caused a couple. There was Ole Miss got pushed back all the way to the 40-yard line after a couple penalties and some nice plays by LSU defense. Ole Miss kicker was Caden something. It's Caden something. I forgot his last name. But he nails the 57-yard field goal. His career long was 56. He drilled a 57-yard field goal. I mean, he nailed it. He nailed it. He could have been good for 65. But that also leads to the question whether or not that maybe Ole Miss should have been a little bit more aggressive than last drive, given how strong his leg was. Maybe they could have won the game in the end, but it doesn't matter. The game's over, and LSU won, right? But LSU gets the ball back. They get the ball back to start their drive in overtime, and I'm thinking to myself, the last time an LSU team went to overtime, LSU scored on the very first play, and then of course you had the game-winning 2-point conversion from Jay Daniels to Mason Taylor. It's a 20-22 game. And that touchdown, of course, was scored by Jay Daniels for 25 yards out. And sure enough, it happened. Derek Nussmeier got the snap, dropped back, maybe a step or two, pump fakes, launched the ball in the air. He's targeting Kyron Lacy. Kyron Lacy was able to create separation from the Ole Miss defensive back, and he caught the touchdown wide open in the end zone with no contest for the ball whatsoever. The Ole Miss player somersaults, created the iconic photo you've seen all over Twitter. You've seen it by now, but he somersaulted. It's like an iconic photo. This could be hanging in a bunch of this could be hanging in the LSU office for sure. Probably today, to be honest with you. Because they upload those photos quick. Game over. LSU wins 29-26. Derek Nussmeier wasn't perfect. There was a couple times where you thought he should have scrambled and got a few yards. Maybe that could have saved an interception or two. Maybe that could have kept LSU's drive to prolong LSU's offensive drives a little bit more. Because the offense was struggling for the most part all game. But overall, great performance of LSU. Well, not so much by the offense, but in terms of a team effort. Great team effort by the LSU Fighting Tigers. They will travel to play Arkansas at Reynolds Razorback Stadium, and that should be a good one. Don't sleep on the Razorbacks. They got a talented quarterback in Taylor Green. Sam Pittman's going to have those boys ready to play. And it should be a good one at Fayetteville. But we'll have a preview of that show. We'll have a preview of that matchup later this week, and we're probably gonna have a guest covering it from the Arkansas perspective. Um, so that way we have a better idea of what LSU is going up against. But anyway, the next thing I want to talk about is, of course, the New Orleans Aints. Yes, I said the Aints. I did that on purpose. I didn't add the S in. They ain't been playing good at all. Oh, by the way, Garrett Nussmeier was the SC Offensive Player of the Week. That's pretty shocking. I guess they just looked at his yardage and everything, but he only completed 43% of his passes. I just saw that come across Twitter on my notifications. But the Aints are bad. And a lot of that has to do with the injuries they've had. Of course, Eric McCoy's out for the oh boy, I need coffee. Eric McCoy's out for the I think he's out for the year. Ryan Ramczyk, of course, is already out for the year. Cesar Ruiz was out. They were missing 3 or 4 of the offensive linemen for the Bucs game. And of course, you had the injuries on the defensive side of the ball as well. But the Saints injury sheet, I mean, you might as well call it a hospital list, because my God, there is a lot of players on the injury report. And of course, who was added to the injury report was Tyrann Mathieu. So, yeah, this tells you. I mean, not the Saints team is not looking good right now. They're 2-4. I guess you could say the state of the union is not good. By the way, Derek Carr is out with an injury too. So, I mean, it's just not looking good for the Saints right now. The Saints actually were up 14-0 over the Buccaneers, and it looked like they were in full control of the game. However, the game flipped on its head. The Buccaneers finally were able to stop turning the ball over. I believe Baker Mayfield threw 3 interceptions during the game. But the Bucs offense was able to go. Baker stopped throwing the ball away to the wrong. Stopped throwing the ball to the wrong team, and the Buccaneers did their thing in the 51-27 win over your New Orleans Saints. So it's been it's not been looking good for the New Orleans Saints overall. Just given the injuries, I don't believe Dennis Allen will be back next year. I think he's done, despite the amount of injuries. And it does Saints fans will be happy about that. I mean, look, as a Saints fan, of course, it's not looking good, and you want to move on. But also, just being the son of a coach, you don't want to wish a coach being fired on any of the coaches or their families, even if they may get a hefty payday. But the Saints are looking good, and Dennis Allen, I don't think he will return as the Saints head coach next year. They need to move into a different direction, bring in a new voice to the Saints locker room, and also they need to rebuild. And a lot of that has to start with Mickey Loomis. Now, if you watched any of my previous shows on here, you know my feelings about Mickey Loomis. I think Mickey Loomis, while he's been here, has been overall for the most part good, great. He brought in Sean Payton, he brought in Drew Brees, and they completely flipped the script on the same organization that was once considered one of the league's worst franchises, and to becoming one of the most respectable franchises in the NFL. But Mickey's somebody that I feel like his time may be coming to an end too. I don't think it will happen this year. I may think it will happen next year. And he's missed on a lot of draft besides 2016, 2017. He's missed out on a lot of draft picks. I mean, he truly has. Cesar Ruiz has never really panned out. Trevor Penning really hasn't panned out on the offensive line. Peyton Turner really hasn't turned out to be anything. Marcus Davenport was obviously the big one. I mean, there's been a lot of miscues when it comes to drafting players for the Saints. Because it's better, if you want to build a future on your team, you have to draft well. He's not been drafting well. So I feel like, he may need to get the axe too, unfortunately. Because it's not like college where you can blame the head coach for your loss. You need to change the coach there. But, it's just, a lot of blame has to go on the front office as well. A lot of blame has to go on the GM. He's the one that helps create the team. The coach can only coach what he has. And I say Dennis Allen, because of the talent, between him and the rest of the league, is the reason why he's getting fired. No, I'm saying is that if you have a good, after let's say you get rid of Dennis Allen, you want to hire a good coach. You want to make sure that new coach has as many weapons as possible to run his schemes. So he's not looking great in the Big Easy for the black and gold. Yeah, but anyway, that's going to wrap up our show for today. This is going to be a short video. I just want to give a quick recap of everything. I'll go more into detail later this week, and in terms of the previews for Arkansas, the Saints will have another game as well. But it's been it's been a great week for LSU. Been a tough week for the Saints, and then also everyone else. Mostly everybody else won. The Southeastern won. Grambling won, Southern won, a lot of teams won except for like La Tech and Northwestern State. But overall, great weekend for football in the state of Louisiana. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to Ruger Sports Media, Ruger Sports Media's YouTube channel, to get all the latest updates on what I do over here at Ruger Sports Media. And then also make sure to follow us on social media and myself on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And then also, make sure if you're a high school football fan to stay as well, check out the Week 7 Nightcap show that me and Jason Lejeune will be doing. Of course, we'll have a Week 7 preview show that we release sometime before Thursday. But we'll also have our Nightcap show on Friday to recap all the top games. And also react to the scores as they're coming in live. But anyway, I'm Grant Sashray, the owner and podcast host of all the Ruger Sports Media shows. So stay tuned, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. And we'll have another big football weekend happening this weekend. Peace, y'all.